so this service, I decided actually to sneak out of church with my friends. And we went to this local skating rink. And at this skating rink, I began to get overheated. And so at this time, I was struggling with asthma. I had asthma really bad. And so I was in this party room, if you would, and sweating. And all of a sudden, I began to black out. And so as I started to black out, my friends, they grabbed me and took me out of the skating rink so I could get some air. And so outside, we just decided, we're not going back in. I didn't have my inhaler, so everybody was kind of like scared, including myself. And so we tried to sneak back in to the service, but the service was already over. So everybody was coming out and they saw me coming back to the church. So of course my parents gave me the look of death. So anyway, we ended up going home, and of course my parents wanted to talk to me. So we're in the living room, and my mother began to talk to me about, what was going on, and pretty much was giving me some reprimands and things of that nature. And as she began to talk to me, I started to lose my breath. And I wasn't able to grab a hold or breathe like normal. And so she knew what to do. She went to go locate the inhaler. So she was looking for the inhaler, but by the time she got back, I was blacking out. And I remember coming out of my body and looking at myself, laying on the floor with blood coming from my head. So I was told at that time, I hit my head on the table, and basically I was, unconscious. And so she called the ambulance, and by the time the ambulance got there, they tried to resuscitate me, but there was there was nothing happening. And so they actually declared me dead at the house. And so my mother, of course, was adamant about, hey, whatever you need to do, whatever we need to do, let's just keep trying. And so I know that they took me to the hospital, and they ended up putting me on a ventilator. But it was because of my mom's request that they did that. So they put a ventilator on me, and my parents began to pray. And not only that, they began to call everybody that they knew to come and pray. And so
do you think you'd be here today if there wasn't prayer?
I'm going to be honest with you. Nothing happens in the earth unless somebody prays. That's how you invite God into the earth. He's given us dominion, so he's not going to break his own law. So he wants us to ask or invite him into any situation that we're in.
So what happened to you?
So they began to pray, and so what happened was I miraculously opened my eyes. But you know what? Before I opened my eyes, I remember seeing the colors that I saw at the age 5. And I remember hearing a sound that literally shook my body. So this sound was so loud, I just remember, my body trembling, and I opened my eyes, and I didn't realize everything that had happened. And so I come back to life. So once we got out of the hospital, everybody's happy and rejoicing. Next day, we went to church, and so my father was preaching a message, and as he's preaching this message, I'm feeling compelled to come down to the altar and rededicate my life back to God. And when I did that, something extraordinary happened again.
What's that?
I began to fall down on the ground, and as I was down on the ground, I was praising God. I started to feel like I was underwater. I could hear my voice. Like, when you're underwater, I was hearing my voice, and I heard this language. And so what I did was I started to repeat what I heard in my ears, and not understanding that I'm being filled with the Holy Spirit, with the evidence of speaking in tongues. I felt this unbelievable joy that came upon me. And when I opened my eyes up, everything was bright. Everything was clear and new.